You're muted if you are talking to me. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or someone else. I'm like, I see your lips
To
moving, but
myself,
I
I
can't
guess.
hear you.
I'm just leaving the Medford office, and so I'm going to be driving on the road. So I'm going to take
All right.
myself camera.
Okay, that's totally fine.
Thank you.
Did you grab your binder?
I did, and
Okay,
I
perfect.
yeah, and I also shadowed open house this last Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. Okay, good.
I got my binder.
Now you can host your own.
Yeah, and I picked up some open house signs that I'm borrowing from Nate at the Medford office too.
Oh,
So
wonderful. Nate
yeah,
Sanford.
I'm
Perfect.
going to start hitting the pavement.
Yeah, good. Okay, awesome.
Okay, thanks.
Is my binder in the office?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll go pick it up.
yeah. I will confirm, but Leslie said it would be there by today. Let me text her real quick and make sure. Did the binder get to KWCC today? Oh, Abby, yay. How are you? Good. Hi, Abby. How are you? How's everything going?
It's going good.
Good. Good. Did you cut your hair?
Yeah, I had it shorter and then I just cut it a little bit more shorter.
That's what I thought. It looks cute.
Thank you.
I was looking at something the other day and was tempted, and then I was like, wait, no, mine's too like fluffy. So when you cut the length off of it, it just goes poof. So I always think it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that'll be easier, and then it's not.
Yeah, I would just be more work. Yeah,
Yep.
your hair's so long and pretty, don't cut it.
Yeah. Talk myself off the ledge there. All right. Give people another moment or so. And then Stephanie should be getting on. How's lead gen been going?
It's going okay. I feel like it's kind of hard because most of my sphere is in like Grants Pass and Medford. So I'm trying to do my best and like meet people here in Roseburg.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. I would have you looked up like if the chamber is doing any events or anything like that? That sometimes they have like a business after hours type event every month or whatnot.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I haven't yet, but I will do that probably today, actually.
I would look at that. I don't know, like I was in a similar spot when I started in Eugene, and our chamber here had like a YPN. So there would be like a YPN event, Young Professional Network event, and then a business after hours. So I would go to those to meet other like business professionals and kind of grow my sphere that way.
Okay.
And then other than that, just kind of trying to find either if there's like a hobby that you have, sometimes there's like local Facebook groups for that, or like kind of getting creative and how you can connect with people in your local
Okay.
market.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to go out and do more like in-person hobbies. Like I'm gonna
Yep.
go take some workout classes, I think, just to try
Awesome.
and like meet new people and maybe
Yes.
go to like the local pottery studio here. That's my
Yeah.
idea for now.
Great. Yep. Nope. Those types of things are great because it's just easy to like start talking to people, get to know them in those settings, and then as you're meeting them and you're like, hey, what do you do for work? what'd you do today? Then they'll ask those things in return. And then that's kind of like your natural, gentle way to be able to bring up real estate.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let me text Stephanie real quick. Um, Hopefully, she's getting. Is it game, Shelley? Oh, let mute me.
Sorry, what was your question?
Did you get to do more door knocking to hand out more of your flyers?
No, actually today what I did was I attended a webinar with Tycor Title on that new thing that passed on March 1st where the LLCs have to fill out the paperwork for any transaction that's done
Yes.
on yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that it doesn't hold up the sale.
Yeah. Yep.
And
There's like
then
100 questions I have to answer.
but on the positive on that was that my HVAC guy came and in the middle of that, and so he was doing that job, and he ended up staying after because he was kind of hearing that I was doing the webinar, and then he was there after it was done, and he started talking to me, and he said, "Oh, you're in real estate," and I said, "Yeah," and then it went into the conversation of him. Um, not knowing if he could get financing. And I'm like, oh, I got a guy for that. And so um, he wanted to buy a house by July because him and his fiance are both living in two separate houses. And so,
Okay. Nice.
yeah, so I got him the information for Dave. And so, yep, got him all set up and all of that and gave him my card. And so I'm hoping that that's a good lead for down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they might want to sell both of those houses.
Well, I think they're both renting right now. So I know he's renting. I think she's renting also.
Okay.
But it'll
Oh,
still
got
be
it.
a good
Okay.
lead for
Yeah.
them
For the
buying.
purchase. Yep.
And then I'm getting ready I'll have to leave this early because I'm headed over to Safe Haven because I'm going to start volunteering there to um, have that be something where hopefully I can potentially meet people and get some
Yeah.
leads, but
Build really
also I'll be volunteering, which will be a good thing too.
awesome. Okay. Kate's going to grab Stephanie. Okay, she's on now. She's grabbing some water. Theater. Okay, Stephanie. All right, so Stephanie Coates has been one of our agents since she was 18. So she has been in the industry for over 18 years now and has been recently she has been on the ALC for, I don't have it in front of me today, but gosh, I've been on it for 9 years. She's been on it for longer than me, with a couple years taken off there. So long time. Um, and she's really, really great at educating buyers and sellers and having really great conversations and helping sellers navigate our current market as it continues to change. And she currently has three young children, so is getting to explore the mom business life the past 3 years as well. Her oldest just turned three. Otherwise, she did have three under three. So she has been a marvelously busy person, yet still is one of our top agents. So you are in really good hands, and I'm excited to hand it over to her. Take it away, Steph. Oh, you're muted.
Hello.
There you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be your teacher today. Thanks, Mara, for the great introduction. So yes, I have been here for a long time, have three children under the age of three, and I really like selling houses. So, I guess kind of one of the first things I like to do is just kind of get an idea for my audience. I heard a little bit of like your updates and everything, but today we're going to go over Win with Seller. So it's about listings. Of everybody here, have you taken a listing before or no?
I'm a no.
No? Okay. Okay, cool. And so I just kind of like to get an idea of, who I've got in front of me, just so I can make sure as we're kind of going through things, I'm not talking, um, too, over what you're doing or too under and have you feel like, you already know this, you've already taken a bunch of listings. So that's good. That's great. Great baseline to have. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started. So, one of the first things that we'll go over, I'm going to go ahead and get the curriculum here so I can kind of share my screen with you. Just a second. Okay. Can you see the screen? Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. Cool. Here we are. Let me go through. Here we go. Okay. Win with seller. So, what we're going to kind of go over today is identifying sellers. Like, how do you figure out who is a seller? And while that sounds pretty elementary, we'll kind of go over some other tactics to kind of figure out how you know who you're working with. About getting the appointment, and then kind of what happens after we land the appointment as far as pre-listing, listing, and then kind of the whole process sort of from start to finish. So, without further ado, we'll start with a quote from Gary Keller. And so he says, while leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to the highest level with the lowest cost and the highest net. So, let's talk about why that is. So, if let's just say, like right now, I personally have 18 active listings. For me to take the listing, manage the listing, service the listing, and such. I mean, each listing, like from the time I meet with my seller, I'm gonna I'm gonna meet with them, do a CMA, so maybe we're talking 2 hours, right? And then to get, the next step would be getting professional photography done. And then, from there, getting a listing up on the MLS. So that might be one more hour. And then from there, as I have the listing, I can kind of, not to say set it and forget it, but I can do most of that like from home. And especially in my season of life with three young kids, that's kind of nice because if it's just I have to give my seller a weekly update call and maybe do an updated market analysis report, and then maybe I sprinkle in some open houses here or there. Between the time that we list the house to the time it goes under contract and then goes pending, I probably for a listing, I'm going to spend maybe, let's say, 10 to 12 hours, for that listing to service the listing for the life of the listing. Now, if I had 18 buyers, let's say, well, that's a whole other story. We're going to have to sit down. We're going to have our buyer meeting, sign our buyer broker agreement. Then we're going to have to look for properties. And then every time a property comes on the market, right, I'm going to have to make an appointment, go out and show them the house. And even if it's one house, I'm probably looking at overall, probably let's say 45 minutes of my time to drive there, show them the house, drive back, or show them more houses, right? And then with buyers, especially right now, I mean, we've got some inventory out there. So we may be looking at, I don't know, 10 to 15 houses, right? So even before I get them under contract to make an offer on something, I've probably already spent the same amount of time just to get them to the negotiation table as I would for the life of a listing. So conceivably, you can take many more listings in the same period of time as you can buyers. And so like I can easily service 18 listings. I probably would have a really hard time if I had 18 active buyers right now, because that would be all I would be doing. Now, not to talk about commission rates, but our commission rates, right? Let's say 2.5%, 3%. I'm gonna make the exact same amount of money, whether it's a listing or if it's a buyer, right? So it really doesn't matter how I sell the house, but my dollar per hour is certainly much higher on a listing than it would be a buyer, because a buyer I'm going to be, of course, spending much, much more time. So that's kind of why with Gary Keller and the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, they kind of talk about leads, listings, leverage, right? And so when you have a listing, the other thing that you have is you have a reason for people to call you. So you've got a sign in the yard that's going to attract more buyers, which then sometimes are going to turn into other listings. Because sometimes buyers are out looking for a house, and then once you actually kind of interview them, you find out, well, yeah, they do want to buy a house, but guess what? They've got a house to sell before they can do that. So, all that being said, the getting the listing is kind of like bait to get more business. And so you'll either obtain the buyer for that house, which you may or may not. You'll probably get another buyer that might want to buy a different property, and you might even get a listing out of it if the listing's properly marketed. The other kind of benefit to being in the market that we're in right now, I don't know where everybody's located, but I'm in Lane County, and so excuse me. Our average days on market right now is about 66 days and trending towards 100. So we have essentially, about 2 to 3 months before, we, might receive an offer on a property. And so therefore, that's 2 to 3 months that my sign is in the yard. I'm able to host open houses. I'm able to post about the house. I'm able to, really do all kinds of things to generate more business for me, utilizing that listing to do that. So, there is that. So that's kind of why it's important to have listings. Now let's talk about how we determine who is a qualified buyer. So a qualified seller, excuse me. So a qualified seller is somebody ready, willing, and able to do business in the next 14 days. Now that's, I guess, by, what we say here. I personally think, it might not, maybe don't hold yourself to such a rigid standard there. Maybe it's ready, willing, and able to do something. Maybe not in 2 weeks, maybe it's in a month. But I would say right now, an A seller is somebody that's motivated. They have a reason behind having to do what they have to do. So if it's just, I think I'd like to sell my house today to just see if I can do it, that's probably not motivating, because right now selling your house is hard. Right now it's going to take a long time. You're going to have a lot of people look at it. Your buyers are going to be super picky. Rates are really high. I mean, there's all these, kind of forces working against you as a seller right now. So really a qualified seller in this market, I'd say, is somebody that has there's something pushing them to have to sell. So if I look at all of my 18 listings that I have on that board right now, every single one of them is selling because of death, divorce, they're going into assisted living, or there's a job transfer. In any of those cases, there is some personal situation that is motivating them to have to make a change. Now, if it's death, it's because obviously somebody died, we have to sell the house, or there's like an estate, kind of pushing us to close the estate. So there's a legal motivation to have to do that. Divorce, that's another motivation, but yeah, there's a lot of people that are going through that right now. And so there again, they've got kind of a definite timeline. We definitely have to do this. And we have to do something here. And then going into assisted living. So if they're in assisted living, then like I have a lady right now. And so in assisted living, like they're paying, probably a fee to be there. And then they're probably paying their mortgage or some carrying costs. So again, they're financially motivated. They're going to have to do something. So I think you want to just make sure whoever it is that you're meeting with, you're able to really pinpoint down like, what is it driving you to need to do this? And then help them to figure out how we get to that point. So I think that's really how you identify a qualified seller. Now, if you have somebody that says, "Oh yeah, we're kind of trying to see if we can, get into this school district, or we think we might want to move," or they have no, I wouldn't say to discount that person and not talk to them. I just would say your follow-up is probably going to be a little bit different, and they're also probably maybe not going to have the stamina to want to go through the process it's going to take to get the house sold right now. Again, unless there's a real good, deep-seated reason that they really want to do something, because it is, again, not very easy right now. So, the 3 L's of the MREA: leads, listings, leverage. We talked about that. So if you have listings, he who has the most listings kind of wins the game, right? Because you're able to take a lot more of them. So statistically, more of them will sell. And then also with the listings, you're able to attract more buyers, which could be leads for listings or leads for other buyers. And that gives you a lot more leverage over your time. So again, leveraging more listings, you have the ability to work, say, 15 to 25 listings a month, whereas you probably couldn't do that many buyers a month. It would be a little taxing. So that's kind of where you want to focus your time. So again, okay, yep, just what I said. You have more control of your time. Yep. You're able to maximize your per hour compensation. Yep, we talked about that. So your time on a listing is probably 10 hours, whereas your time on a buyer, I mean, you may be 40, 50 hours for the exact same amount of pay. You can do more volume. You're on the front end of pricing. Yeah, kind of. So I think with a listing, you're sometimes able to sort of set the market because you are working with your seller to say, okay, here's the price. And then you're also able to kind of see, well, what offers are coming in, which maybe helps you to kind of dictate more in the future, how you might counsel other sellers based upon how you're seeing offers sort of come in and kind of the behind the scenes knowledge that you're getting from that process. And then, of course, as we talked about, a properly marketed listing, statistically speaking, properly marketed should bring you another buyer and another seller. And again, like the benefit of having more days on market right now is that at this time, you do have a little bit more opportunity to market that and really exploit your listing to get, the most eyes on it and really kind of help you to get it sold. Okay, 7-step seller service cycle. Okay, so convert the lead. So we'll talk about that and then kind of go through the pre-listing, the listing, and then getting your offer and then to closing. So, any ahas so far?
I mostly just like how you were saying that if you have a listing, like it's gonna attract buyers too. So it's not like just a one deal. You could get more out of it. I didn't really think about that for some reason.
Yes. Um, yeah. So, good. And I will say too, like I follow a lot of my other like realtor friends and stuff here, and one of them, like I noticed, just for example, she was doing an open house and then she made like all of these little like like gift bags to give away to all of the guests that came to the open house, right? So she put together these cute little, flower baskets and I don't know, whatever was in this little pot by gift, right? And then she held the open house. So then she was able to like do a reel on her open house. And then she showed the little gift baskets. And so anyway, so I guess what I'm saying with that is like, now how many people came to her open house? I mean, I don't know, maybe nobody even came, right? But to everybody on social media, we're looking at Cheyenne like, oh my gosh, like, wow, she really put a lot of effort into this. So if I'm a seller or I'm thinking about selling something, like I might call her in the future because I'll be like, yeah, she's really, putting forth a lot of effort. So she's utilizing the fact that she has this listing and is doing an open house to maybe be able to attract more buyers in the future. And if she didn't have that, she wouldn't have that opportunity. So yeah. So good job, Cheyenne. Okay, so converting your A sellers. So what do we need to do? Okay, so when we get an inquiry, respond right away. So speed to lead is the name of the game. So I know that in your curriculum and everything, you are being taught ways to find leads. And so some of those are going to be have met, some of those are going to be haven't met. So for the have mets, like let's say it's, friends, family, or, your old third grade teacher or whatever, right? Like they probably like if they call and leave you a message and you take 2 hours to call them back, like they're probably still going to want to use you because they really like you and they want to support you, especially if you're new, they're just excited to support your business, right? Now an internet lead, if any of you are ever going to start paying for those types of things like Zillow or, homes.com or whatever you're paying for, that's a whole nother discussion. But those types of people, they do not know you, like you, or trust you. So basically, it is whoever answers that phone first, that's who they're going to work with. And you are nothing but a glorified locksmith. So you are going to open a door for them. That is it. And you're going to have to work harder to build that relationship and build that trust. And the way you're going to do that is by being really on top of it and really fast. So understand that those type of people, they're comparing you to like Amazon, right? You get on Amazon, you order it, it ships it immediately, it's going to show up on your door tomorrow. That is what their expectation is because again, there's no personal relationship. They do not care that you have a life, they don't care that you have kids or a dog or that you were in the hospital yesterday. Like they just want what they want and you're the conduit to get there. And so be quick or don't, like if you're not, they're going to move on to somebody else. So just I think understand there's a difference between when you're converting, how you need to respond to the different type of lead, right? Now, to our friends and family, yes, we should probably be really fast and really on the ball too. But like statistically, are you going to lose them that way? Yeah, probably not. But nonetheless, yeah. So next thing, converting your A sellers. Okay, so get valid and complete contact information, save it to command, create an opportunity. Yeah. Determine their motivation to sell so you can speak to it. So we kind of talked about that. Like you really probably need to figure out like why are you wanting to do this right now? And not only do you want to do that so you can kind of keep them in the process here, because again, this is not for the faint of heart. Like if they don't have a burning reason to do something, it's going to be an uncomfortable process. It's going to be difficult. They're probably not going to get the price they want. Like this is not going to be great, right? If they have to sell, you're dealing with a different type of personality. The other thing that you might want to also know here for motivation is there are some people that are really experiencing a high level of financial distress right now. So they are either behind on their mortgage payments or they're about to be behind on their mortgage payments. And so if that were to happen, there's going to be a foreclosure sale date that you'll need to be cognizant of, and that's going to have to factor into how you counsel them on pricing. So, let's just say they are behind on payments. The foreclosure date is going to be in August, right? So if we're going to list today, then you're going to have to look at, okay, what's the average days on market? Okay, so it's 66, right? So listing today, it's March, April, May. So we might get an offer by May, and then it's going to take 30 to 45 days to close. So then we're in June, July. Okay, well, we're coming up on that August date, right? So you're going to have to tell them and work backwards and say, well, if we're going to get you out of this before the date that, the property is going to foreclose, we really have to be aggressive about pricing like today in order to be able to get that offer, right? So sometimes it's important to kind of know like, okay, what's our drop dead date here? And then kind of work backwards and then be super aggressive and course correcting if you're not getting the result that you need. And then also like set an appointment, time and date as soon as possible. So, I mean, I want to get to see them like as quick as we can. Are you guys available today? Like, when can we get in, right? Because the other thing you don't want them to do is they've called you, you're new, they've left a message, you call them back, you talk to them a little bit, and then they go back to work and they're talking to their friend, in the cafeteria at work, and their friend says, "Oh, well, I've got a realtor for you. You need to use my realtor." Or, "What about this one?" And then you lost the deal, right? You want to have already an appointment set up, and then they feel like they can't cancel that on you, and they kind of now feel like, we no, I've already got an appointment set. So I think that's the other kind of trick, especially when you're new, is just making sure you're on the ball, you get into their living room as quickly as possible to have this appointment. I'm going to go back to number two, get valid and complete contact information. So, like, that kind of seems like a no-brainer. So, one of the things that I guess I would just kind of talk about, especially as we talk about the reasons that people are selling right now: death, divorce, going into assisted living, and job transfer. So, let's say the person calls you. Ideally, I'm like sitting at my computer, or I have the ability to pull up. In my area, it's RLID. Now, depending on where you're at, RLID here is like our county records information for Lane County. If you're in a different county, you probably have some sort of an equivalent, and I don't know what that would be. Depending, your market center would know. But you'll want to pull it up, and that way you can see, okay, oh, hello. So I see the name on title is Angela Brown. Wonderful. And that's who I'm talking to, right? Oh, I see there's also a Andrew Brown. Let's talk about who that is. Well, we want to make sure that we have looked up front as to who is on title, and who is it that is going to be a decision maker, and who's going to have to be signing. And then also, is that person alive, right? A lot of people are selling right now because people have died. So you really want to kind of get those ducks in a row from the very beginning. So some kind of tips here. That I run into would be like, verify who is on title. So maybe say, okay, I see that, this is who's called me, this is who I'm talking to. Ask them about the other people that you're seeing on title. Okay, and are they going to be able to meet with us, tomorrow at 5 o'clock too? Yes or no? And if it's no, okay, well, great. And, how will I be able to speak to that person? And just make sure that you've got some sort of a way to connect with that person. The other thing now, if they're dead, that could be a problem. So I have run into this. I tell this story often when I teach this class. So years ago, there was five siblings, and they were selling their mom's house, and mom had passed away. It had been like 15 years. And so we got, the house on the market. We finally got it sold. It was actually a nightmare, wouldn't sell. It just was really hard to get to closing, but finally we get there. And so the title company actually needs a original death certificate for anybody that's on title. The original, not a copy, the original. And so there's five siblings, and I think they all thought somebody else had it. Well, nobody could find it, and we're getting up to our closing date, and guess what? Now we can't close. So they then had to contact DHS and get a new original death certificate, and DHS said that's going to be about 6 weeks. Well, DHS really didn't care that we had a closing date in like 3 days, so it delayed our closing like 6 weeks. So I would learn from me and kind of ask up front, have that kind of awkward conversation, like, okay, so I'm so sorry, your husband passed. Just so you know, at closing, we're going to need the original death certificate. Do you have that in your possession? And maybe encourage them to set it aside. Because also think about this. Let's say somebody just lost their husband, and that's why they're having to sell. They're stressed out, right? Like, we just lost somebody. Now I'm packing up my life. I got to find a new place to live. Everything's in boxes. And then the day of closing, you're going to ask me to find a very important document. I don't know where it is in my U-Haul, right? So I would just kind of have that conversation up front. And then the other thing sometimes I do, especially if it's like an estate, or let's say it was their parent that died, and the person you're dealing with is a child. That make sure that they have the signing authority. So maybe even open an escrow. Call your escrow officer that you've been connected with, and say, hey, I've got this new listing coming up. It's an estate. I'm working with the kid, and the kid doesn't know much about, mom or dad's, affairs financially. And so I'm hoping we can just get a prelim put together now. And that way we can identify any liens that are against the house that maybe the kid didn't know. Maybe mom and dad took out a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit. The kid has no idea about this. So we kind of just want to make sure we've got an idea of what all liens or judgments are attached to that property that maybe they didn't know about. I find this, unfortunately, it's very common. Like if the parent had maybe dementia or like an early onset that maybe wasn't discovered until it was too late. Sometimes we go through the process and then we're really surprised at closing because you have all these extra liens that have popped up that the kid had really no clue about. So what I would encourage is to maybe just do that. The title company will do it for you for free. If your client called, they'd probably charge them. So you can kind of offer that as like another service, point of value that you're able to offer for them. And that way you're really able to understand the property and the liens. And then also the last thing that we'll do is like, let's say you have a seller and you're working, let's say again, we'll take the same example, you're working with a kid and they've are selling it on behalf of the parents' estate. You want to find out in what capacity are they able to sign on that property. So was there a trust that has appointed them as a trustee? Are they a personal representative? Like, and is that really the person that can sign? Is there anybody else that needs to sign? And the title company is going to also help you figure that out as well. So I would again do that from the very beginning, because what you don't want to do is list the property, think you know that you've got the right person here, and then we get a buyer involved, and now we're in escrow, and now we find out, uh-oh, I need to track down the long lost brother because he also has to sign, and we had no idea, right? So be careful about that. The last thing I'll say on this tangent of know who you're talking to, sometimes other really common thing, especially in divorces, is people get divorced and then there's a divorce decree, and the divorce decree will award the house to whichever spouse it's given to. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, I got the house in the divorce, so that's my house," and then they, go on, their merry way, and 10 years later they decide, "Oh, I'm gonna sell the house." Well, unless they refinance the house, guess what? The other spouse is still on title. So the other spouse still has to sign, even if the divorce decree says you got the house, right? So a lot of times people don't understand that. They think, "Oh, the judge gave me the house, no big deal." Yeah, they did. But guess what? We now have to track your ex-husband down, and he's going to have to sign off on letting you sell your house now. So again, these are better conversations to have right before you list, right? Or as you're getting ready, versus when you're like in the middle of the transaction and you've got a buyer involved and now you have timelines, and this can just make it a lot more awkward and much more stressful. It's also going to help your seller to know that like you're doing your homework, and you're getting kind of all your ducks in a row ahead of time. They're going to feel very confident in your abilities to navigate them through this process. So there you go. That's my spiel about know who you're talking to. And then just know the title company, more than happy to help you out. They will always run a prelim for you with buyer to come, is what they call it. And I would just say that would be probably super helpful in any of these types of scenarios. Okay, what do sellers want from their agent? Well, let's see here.
Can I ask you a question? What did you
Yeah.
call that? What did you say the title calls it?
They'll just ask them to do a preliminary title report. And then they will do it with buyer to come. So most of the time, like if you open escrow, you'll get the prelim, and then they have, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller, and here we go. In this case, they're just going to open it without an actual buyer. It'll just say to come. And that way you get the same information, just, yeah. They want you to help price the home competitively. They want you to market it for buyers, to sell the home, and find ways to fix it up to sell it for more. Okay, yes, they do. They want you to do all those things. Now, I will just say, let's talk about selling it for more and fixing it up. I'd be real careful in this market, right? We're kind of not in a great market right now. So I'd be real cautious advising your seller to make a bunch of repairs to the property if they think they're going to get more from it, because I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case. So I would probably advise them to do the things that they need to do to make it financeable. But I don't know that I would say go replace carpets and, do a kitchen remodel today, because I think that that might be a risky bet just given current market conditions and where the market would be when they got done with that renovation. So, I now if they've got tons of money and they really want to do it, then I would help them figure out what that would look like too. But I just would be a little bit cautious, encouraging them to proceed with major renovations right now. Build confidence and trust. All right, yes, we want to do that. And I think you do that by all the things that we just went over, by being super prepared, being on time, having all your ducks in a row, and then really kind of helping to, also like I think you build confidence and trust by helping to figure out like, well, what is it that's causing you to need to sell? And then you find out, oh, there was a death or there's a divorce or you've got a financial distress situation, and then really helping to understand, okay, so based upon that, if we get you out of here by this date, is that going to make things a little bit easier for you? Yeah, it will. So then they feel like you're on their team and that you're going to help them to like, get through this. So that I think is kind of really the most important thing. And you'll hear me say, like, I know in this curriculum, we're going to go over the pre-listing packet and stuff. I'm going to have some different ideas about that, because I really think it really doesn't matter. Like, you don't want to go in there and give them all the reasons why you're the best. Nobody really cares about you. Let's just say that, okay? What they care about is they care about them and they care about the situation they're in and how you're going to help them get out of it. So I would say most of your presentation, yeah, you can say who you are, why you want to list their house, but honestly, spend the most time talking to them about them and what their needs are and how you can help them to achieve whatever it is that they need to achieve. Because I will tell you, you're going to get a lot farther and get more listings that way than you are if you go in and with a dog and pony show telling them how fantastic you are, because nobody cares. So there's my advice. Closing tactics. Okay, I don't really use these. But they teach you in these types of sales courses, closing tactics like the take back close, the negative positive close, the trial close, assumptive close, tie downs. All of these you can use. And I do think there's a time and a place for them. But again, I think I am more of the opinion that like people just want to be heard and they want to be helped, right? Like especially if they're trying to sell right now, it's because something bad happened. Like they really need a friend and they need somebody that's going to help them get through this situation, and still maintain their financial integrity at the end of this. And so I don't really like to play a lot of games here. Now this morning I will say I did a little bit of one of these, but and usually I'll do this in negotiations. I will not typically do this like when we're trying to get an appointment or like get them to list the house. But like, for instance, I got this lady. We've got her house listed. We've had it listed since August. She's elderly. She's in assisted living. She wanted 50,000 more than what I had suggested we list it for. I said 220. She said, "No, I want to sell for 270." Okay. So guess what? We've had it on the market since August. We've had like 2 showings. It's not going to sell because you're way overpriced, lady. So she moved into assisted living. She now has however much she's paying over here, plus her mortgage down here. So she has just got money every month, just, hemorrhaging cash here. And so finally, I got a call from her son, and her son said, "Yeah, you're having my mom's house for sale. What on earth do we need to do to get it sold? Like, we are running out of money. She's been in the ER multiple times. Like, we've got all these medical bills now. We can't pay our bills. What do we need to do?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, your mom's really stubborn." And I told her 220. And so she said this higher price. And he goes, "Oh, well, let me talk to her." So lo and behold, the next day, she calls and says, "Yes, my son talked to me. We had a come to Jesus meeting, and I'd like to lower the price now." Oh, good. And guess what? 3 days later, we have two offers in hand. So this morning, we're talking about these two offers. There's one of them, and she's like, "Well, I think I might counter it." So did I use one of these closes on her? Absolutely. "Hey, Barbara, what's going to happen if you counter it and they walk away?" "Oh, yeah, that's not good. I don't want to be broke." "Okay, well, then let's take the damn offer." So there are times where I think, you want to use these to help them. Also, like this morning, for instance, I don't know which one it was here, probably the take back close, where I was like, "Okay, so the offer you have is cash and it's closing on or before the 27th. So that's in 17 days. So if in 17 days you had a check for $200,000, would that make things better for you?" "Oh yeah, that would." "Okay, so what if we counter it and then the buyer walks and now we're right back here, and then next month on the 1st of April, you've got to write another check for $10,000 for both of your properties. How does that feel?" "Oh yeah, I don't want to do that." "Okay, so do you want to counter them still?" "No, no, I don't." "Okay, great. Let's move forward," right? So sometimes I think you got to beat them up a little bit, but I'm not going to do that to somebody like to get their listing. I will do it if I think they're going to harm themselves by being ridiculous. So those are my thoughts and opinions on these closing tactics. Questions versus objections. Okay, so I think here the difference between like a professional and an amateur, a professional knows what they know and knows what they don't, and they know the difference between the two. So, as a new agent, if you are asked a question and you know the answer, answer it. If you don't know the answer, just say, I'm not sure about that, and go find the answer and get back to them. I think you earn far more credibility by saying, I don't know. I'm new. I've never been asked that before, and then going to find that out and then coming back versus, just making something up on the fly, right? So that is my advice here. And if there's an objection, like address it and like figure out, okay, well, how do we work this around to get to where we need to go? Any ahas? No. Okay. Pre-listing packet. Okay, so we'll talk about that. The purposeful approach. So, entrepreneurial to purposeful. That's what this graph is telling us. So, when we start in this business, we are entrepreneurial. And so we're just like, yep, I'm going to do this real estate thing. And sometimes we think we're going to have so much flexibility and free time, and that's a complete lie. But that's what we get into it thinking. And really, what we need to do is focus, models, systems, and then you'll have a breakthrough. And you're going to break down before you break through. So just know that you're going to beat your head against the wall, you're going to cry, and it's going to be really brutal. And then that means you're just going to hit a ceiling and you're going to push through it. And then guess what? There's going to be another ceiling 6 months down the road. But that's growth and that's good. So just keep it up and just know that that's where you need to be. Pre-listing packet goals. Okay, so here's what I'll say about this. In your curriculum, in all the stuff that we provide in Command and what have you, there are a bunch of customizable templates. If you don't like those, I would get some from Canva. They've got some really great ones on there, or even buy some off of Etsy and customize them. Like right now, if you're new and you're slow, it is the time to do it, because guess what? If you get busy, you're just never going to get done, and you'll be 20 years in and you won't have these things done. So I would say if you have some time, I would sit down, I would time block to get these things done. Now, I would also be very careful. I don't actually use these things, and I actually sell a lot of houses. But ideally, you build a pre-listing packet, and then it's something that you would drop off to that seller or mail to them to tell them about you, the services that you offer, and what you're going to do in the process. Now, here's where I'm going to be careful about that. I think you want to be careful about what you put in that packet. Like make the packet have the packet. That way you got something to give them. But I think that you want to be careful, because you may pigeonhole yourself and you may lose the listing this way. So an example would be like, let's say in your pre-listing packet, you have something in there that talks about doing open houses. Well, if you give it to your seller and your seller sees that, yeah, that's part of kind of what she does for her clients here is this open house program, and this is how she does the open houses. Now, some people are going to look at that and be like, oh, that's fantastic. Great, she's really going to push my house. Now, other people maybe have privacy concerns. I've had people that like they've got, a feud going on with their neighbor. And if I even mention the word open house, they freak out, because they're like, absolutely not. I don't want anybody knowing where my house is. I don't want anybody coming through my house. I only want pre-qualified buyers, especially if you're going to work in like a higher price point. You want to be super careful about that as well. So I just would kind of maybe know your seller, maybe tailor these a little bit for them. The other thing is, like, let's say you're listing somebody's investment property and they've got tenants. Well, they're probably going to be really cautious about they don't want you to do an open house there, right? They don't want to spook their tenant. They maybe even want showings with accepted offers only, right? So I think you need to have enough in there to talk about you and the services that you offer, but also don't make it to where your seller reads that packet and it's too cut and dry of like, oh, this is what they do and this is how they're going to approach this. And like, because you don't want to lose the listing that way, if that's how they think this is the only way you operate. I think you want them to know this is a partnership, and I'm going to tailor my services to kind of fit your needs and fit the listing appropriately. And so if you say you don't want any of these things done, I won't do them. And on the flip side, if there's something that you specifically really want me to try to do to market your property, I'm totally open to it. I've had sellers, especially let's say if it's like a farm property or something, like maybe they want you to advertise in certain types of farm publications or stuff like that. So anyway, I think you just want to make sure that you're like fluid enough in that you're not, you know, um, tying yourself down to where you might lose that. Pre-listing packet criteria. Will you review it at the presentation? Does it eliminate the need for a consultation? Is it a primer for education? I mean, all these things. So again, I think have one. If you're new, now's the time to create one. But again, be careful where you leave that thing and be careful who you give it to. Do you review it in the listing presentation? I think the whole idea is it's something that you give to them ahead of time so they can kind of get to know you and your services. I don't think you review it there. I think the listing presentation is really your opportunity to build rapport with your seller and ask questions and kind of get kind of get to understand, what it is that they need. So I don't really think that you sit there and go over that. I mean, honestly, like if you think about the movie The Bachelor, the series The Bachelor, who's watched that. So would you like to know who wins every time? I will tell you. It is not the one that goes in there and is interesting and talks about how great they are and, tries to brag about all of their accomplishments and accolades. It's the girl that is interested, right? It's the one that asks the guy the questions. It's the one that sits there and, tries to get to know him because then he feels like she's really interested in him and like he's really important, right? That's what you want to do with your seller. Don't go in there and be interesting. They don't care. They care about themselves, and there's a reason they called you to be in their living room today, and it's probably because there's a pain point. So find that by asking questions. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. So just go in and ask and go 3 deep. Oh, we need to move to this part of town. Okay, great. Why do you need to do that? When do you need to be there by? Ask great questions to kind of get to the root of like what's going on here and then help them come up with a solution to get you there. That's really what your listing presentation is for. You are welcome to go in there and tell them all of your stats and how many houses you've sold and all this mumbo jumbo. No one cares. Maybe you touch on that, but I think you really 90% of it needs to be focused on them. So, if they have specific questions, and they may, then I think it's also the opportunity for you to answer those questions. But again, sometimes I am always blown away by the things that they ask me or the things that are like a concern to them, right? Like sometimes it's in my opinion, like the weirdest thing about like where I'm going to put the sign or if they're going to have a for sale, if they have to have a for sale sign. No, you don't have to have a for sale sign. Sometimes people are really worked up about funny things. So again, I would go in asking the questions and not just assume, that what their concerns are. Okay, so here's an example of the pre-listing packet. Again, I would totally set it up. Like you've got time to do it. I would go ahead and do it. Get that put together. Okay, seller consultation checklist. Okay, deliver your pre-listing packet. Again, I'm going to say be careful with this. You want to know who to deliver it to and where. And part of this is, let's say it's a rental property. Don't deliver it because maybe they don't want their tenants to know that they're selling, right? Is it a divorce situation? Well, you might want to confirm that both parties know they're getting divorced, right? Sometimes a spouse may be calling you ahead of time and they haven't told the other spouse what their plans are here. So you just want to be kind of cautious about where that's going, who you're living it with, right? Or I've had this happen too. Maybe it's a job transfer, or they're going to quit their job. I had a guy recently, he was quitting his job. He'd been there for like 22 years and is going to move out of state. And so like if I would have delivered a pre-listing packet to his work, for instance, that probably wouldn't have gone over very well because then his boss, wait, you're selling your house? Where are you going? Right. And I would have let the cat out of the bag a little bit sooner than he had wanted. So again, just kind of be understanding of the situation before you go dropping things off or, I think confidentiality is kind of important with all this. So just make sure you know your audience. Okay, ensure all decision makers attend. Yeah, we talked about that. And of course, if they're dead, make sure they understand that they need original death certificates. And then practice your listing presentation. I think you should. Here's what I think. I'm probably more of a proponent of not practicing your presentation so much as looking at the data. So what I want to do when I go in to talk to them is, again, I'm going to be interested, right? I'm not interesting, I'm interested. So I'm going to have pulled all the comparable sales on their property. I'm going to have pulled all the neighborhood sales. Even if the house across the street wasn't a comp, I would have pulled that too. I'll have done a tremendous amount of research before I sit down with them. And that way, when we're sitting in their living room, I'm able to pull out all the stats and all the information and just really show them that I've done my homework on their property. And I think it helps them to know, like, I am committed to getting to working with you on this and getting this done. So I think that's really where you're going to win with your seller, is just coming in uber prepared. And I do think, like, I'll talk about this too. When I started, we had, it wasn't Ignite, but it was called Camp 443. And so it was 4 listings and 4 sales in 3 months. So similar idea, but one of the things we had to do was we had to tour, I think it was like 10 houses a week was like our homework that we had to do for this program. And so I would do this oftentimes on broker tour. So like in our area, every Wednesday and every other Wednesday now we have broker tour where any new houses are on tour for the day. And just all the agents can go visit them. And I'm sure if you're in a different area, you probably have something similar. Ask your office manager, principal broker, where and when that is. But I found it was a great opportunity for me to go through houses and just see inventory. And then where sometimes that might seem like, well, how is this really helping us to do anything productive here? Well, I see your point. But what I found is that a lot of times when I would sit down with a seller 6, 9 months later and I had toured the house that was like a block away from them, I had another talking point because I had walked through it, 6 months ago. So whenever they would bring up that comp to me, I was able to say, well, actually, I walked through it and it smelled like cat pee. Or I walked through it and let me tell you, here's what you couldn't see from the picture. And this is why I think it took so long to sell. Or this is why I think it sold really fast. And here's all of the upgrades that that property had that yours didn't have. So there's a lot of things that when you're just looking at photos, you're just not able to tell. But if you've actually had boots on the ground market research, like you'll be able to come across so much more knowledgeable about the properties that you're comparing it to, and then just also have better talking points. So if those are activities that are available to you to do, I would totally do them because you just never know when 9 months from now you're going to be sitting in front of somebody and that's going to be super important information to go over. Ahas. No. Okay. Listing appointment. Okay. So we're talking about that. So we want to go in again. I am usually going to prepare a lot before my appointment. Really have everything kind of put together, have some good numbers, have some good data. Hopefully I've toured some homes nearby. If the homes that I'm using as comps are vacant, maybe I would have even gone to go see them myself. And just really have the opportunity to build a great impression. So they'll be very confident. Pricing and price recommendation. So I will always share with them like what I think we should price it at. Now, if they want to price it higher, I will indulge them at that price. But I think I also try to set the expectation of, listen, if we don't get any showings or anything in like 2 to 3 weeks, I think we really are going to have to plan to make an adjustment. So I kind of try to help them understand like we can do what you want to do with price, but like let's also have a game plan if this doesn't work out. The other thing I do in this point too is I have an app called Fidelity Agent that I use, and Fidelity offers it. I'm sure many other title companies offer it, but you can prepare a net sheet on that for your seller. So I always plug that in and try to figure out like, okay, at this list price, this is your net. And then I also like, especially now that we're dealing with people in financial distress, we want to really make sure that we're not pricing it to where we don't have enough wiggle room. So I think that's also important at this step before we assign an official price, is that we also look at, well, if you're pricing it at 450, your net is really, 408, and then figure out what does that really mean to them and their situation. And then set expectations for how you're going to market the home and work with the seller. So again, I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think that you kind of have to figure out what is it that they really want out of this. And make sure that you're tailoring like your marketing and everything, and like open houses or not open houses, right? To fit really what they're expecting from you. How the listing presentation meets seller needs and wants. Okay. So yes, their needs come first. So I'd customize all this stuff. I think it's super great to have. And I think it definitely is something that I would recommend doing, especially if you're not super busy right now. And that way you're able to, have something to give to them. Um, but, here you can see again, kind of back to what I've been saying, your needs come first. So asking them, like, what's the one thing that has to happen to make this dream scenario a reality? And then, like, when do you need to be there by? Why is that important to you? So I think really just getting down to, what is it that they really need out of this process, and how can you ultimately help them to achieve that. I would also just recognize too, I've got some sellers, they're not honest with me. And they're not honest with me in the beginning. And then it's like we're on the market for a little bit, and then the truth comes out. And then, oh, well, I'm actually behind on my payments, or I'm actually whatever, right? There's some other problem. And so the more you can dig deep in the beginning, the better you can be on the back end to kind of really make sure you're navigating them the way that they need, to get through this situation. So, the affirmation here is I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. So, what I take from this is expertise and preparation. All right. So, that means we need to prepare and we need to become an expert. So, again, that's back to like where I talk about doing a ton of market research. Like, it's really not these little packets that they tell you to put together. I think it's really all the knowledge you're going to get from studying the market, studying the homes nearby, and then really kind of helping to tailor your recommendations based upon kind of what you're seeing and really being an expert there. So, command, yes. Okay, so should be pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. I'm sure you probably have all started to work in Command, but super easy. You just kind of plug their information in and then kind of update, as you move along. And this will help you to see like when you need to talk to them and what you need to do here. Listing walkthrough. Okay, so let's talk about this. So when I show up for the listing walkthrough, show up on time. 2, I always bring the county record information with me, and I bring all my comps, and I have that in front of me. And we're going to walk through the house, and then I'm going to probably reference back to what I see on county record. So as we're walking through, I'll like if county record says 3 bedrooms and I see 4, then I might ask some questions like, okay, well, did you guys add on? Or like, what was this room? Or was this here when you bought it? Or, so just make sure you kind of have that to reference by. I usually, when I get there for the listing presentation, we start with the walkthrough right away. So, hello, come on in. I take my shoes off, or at least ask them if they want me to do that always, just as a sign of respect. And then I ask them to take me on a tour of the house. Now, I'm doing a couple things here. I am also trying to figure out what personality type are they? Are they a D, an I, an S, or a C? So a D is going to want to run through this real quickly and show me the house real fast. And then they're going to want to just, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's go. An I is going to want to show me the artwork. They're going to want to show me a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, like the color of the walls and the new throw that they have for their couch and how they decorated, this other area, right? They are just excited. It's colors, everything's great. They're just really excited about this process. And S is going to be super nervous the whole time. Do you need to look in this closet? Here, I can open this for you. Did you need to look in the drawers? What all do you need? They're nervous. They're scared. They don't know what we're doing here. Change is really hard for them. So you're going to identify that in how they walk you through the home. A C is also going to be quick, but they are going to be meticulous. They are going to tell you about the 3/12 pitch that's on the roof. They're going to tell you the exact type of shingle that they used. They are going to tell you, to a certain degree, exactly what year they replaced the furnace in. They will tell you exactly how much it cost down to the penny. And so you're going to be looking for a lot of specificity with a C. Now, this is going to help me to know, okay, when we go and sit down at your dining room table in a minute, how do I need to approach you in order to get your listing? So a D, I need to get to the facts first. Do not go through your stupid packet. You just sit down and say, listen, here's the price, here's the comps, here's what I think we should do, and here's the plan, right? That's what they want. And you're going to need to giggle with them. If they offer you a glass of wine, you're going to need to take it. Like, this is social hour. That's what they want. They just want to hang out. So you're going to have probably, 45 minutes of just talking about, their kids and their dog and their activities and pickleball and whatever else they're into. And then you're going to have 15 minutes of, okay, great. Well, I think I came here to list your house, right? So let's talk more about that. And S is scared to death. Change is their biggest fear. So this is like the precipice of everything that could possibly go wrong for them. They are terribly nervous. So you really need the appointment is going to take a long time, and you're going to need to do some hand holding and probably ask them like, okay, well, like where do you want to go? And like how soon do you want to be there? What can we do for you? And really kind of dig deep with them on like, how do we make this more comfortable for you? And then also try to see what it is that's making them the most scared or nervous about the process, and how can we maybe insulate them from some of that. So sometimes it might be they want you present at all the showings. I don't know. Sometimes it might be that they just really need this to go quickly. It could be a variety of different things. So I think with them, spend some more time just really digging deep and trying to make them feel comfortable. And then also figuring out like what it is that you can do to make it better for them. A C is going to argue with you when you get to the dining room table. They are going to fight you on price. They will have pulled their own comparables. They will have already have a spreadsheet for you with all the information they think is pertinent to the transaction. And they're going to want you to be very interested in those types of things, because to them, the facts are the most important things about the house. They are not going to care as much about the color flyers that you're going to print, or the fancy flashy marketing you're going to do. They just want, they're very concerned about the numbers, the facts, and those types of things. So you're going to want to talk to them in that type of jargon. So that's that type of person. You're going to want to be very prepared with your comparable sales. You'll want to have them printed out. You'll want to know the average days on the market and be able to recite that quickly. You'll want to know the average price per square foot. And you're going to want to know why this house over here deviated and was $20 extra a square foot, right? You're going to want to have done a little bit more research, because that's what they deem really, really, really important. And then once you kind of go through the presentation and you feel like you've kind of gained agreement, I think the next step there is to try to get them to sign the agreement, if you can, and then set them up for the next step. So never leave that appointment without setting up like, what are we doing next here? Is the next step you guys are going to do some repairs to the house and I'm going to come back in 2 weeks? Is the next step we are going to schedule photos right now? Is the next step we're listing it tomorrow? Like, what's the next step? So make a plan, agree on it, and set the next appointment for that to happen. And I think that's really critical in making sure that you retain that listing. Send a handwritten card. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a lost art. So I would just mail them something as soon as you leave. Hey, thanks so much for having me. You have a beautiful home. I'd be excited to represent it. So on and so forth. Ahas.
I do like your thank you card. I didn't think about that one early on.
Yeah. Okay, listing agreement. Okay, so yes, I think that I will typically always bring it with me. I mean, I don't see why not, you know? Um and I think my tip and trick here too is I will always come over prepared to these appointments, because you kind of never know where they're at. Sometimes they want to sign this like right now. Sometimes they're going to wait, but I think just to show up and be like super prepared, have everything ready. I also I want everything. I want the XBN agreement. I want the seller's property disclosures. I want the lead-based paint. I want the entire file right here ready to go. Now for me, I have 3 kids under the age of 3. Like, I need to be super organized, because if I'm not super organized, my life is just absolute chaos. So I try to, block and tackle wherever I can and make sure that like I've got everything that I can control is done, and is done at a high level, just because I got too much going on for things to fall through the cracks. So I'm going to show up to this appointment. We are going to sit down in person. We are going to sign the agreement. I'm going to go through the RMLS printout with them, and we're going to go through all the features of the home together, check all the boxes together. I'm going to have them fill the disclosures out in front of me. We're going to get that done right here and right there, because this way I don't have to come back multiple times to the seller and be like, oh shoot, I need the disclosure filled out. Oh, I need the wood stove disclosure, whatever. I just don't have time for it. in personally. But then the other thing I found is like the seller's going to appreciate that. This is a stressful process already. Like, do not bother them any more times than they need to be bothered. Come super prepared, get it all done, and get it all out of the way. And then they're going to feel like they're dealing with a rock star professional. And it's also going to help you down the line, like when you have a buyer that's considering your house versus a different house. If you're able to say, "Oh, I already got the disclosure statement filled out, let me send it to you." Does it really mean anything? No, but it just makes the buyer feel like they've got more information on your property than the competing one. So it might help you out down the road. So I would come with everything. Let's do it all right now. And I mean, I prefer to sit down and go over it. Um, regardless of where you're at in life, like nobody likes to get calls at 10 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday night, right? Now, if you don't sit down and you just docu-sign stuff to them, right? Well, they probably are just going to click through and sign it. So they really don't know what they're signing. If you take this opportunity on the front end to sit down and go through the listing agreement line by line and go through all their concerns, go through the disclosure statement, then I think you're gonna have a seller that feels comfortable with the situation. And so they are not going to be the seller that's up all night rumorating about what could go wrong here or like what did we just do, right? They're a seller that feels confident because you've
So you print it out and
yeah,
then, okay,
sure.
that was my feelings about it too, was that you don't just send it via DocuSign, that you take it in and sit with them because that's a more personal level and they're going to feel more confident about it. And you can explain things to
Yes,
them as you
100%.
go along.
Yes. And furthermore, like on the sheet, I'm talking about like the RMLS, the sheet that's your listing input sheet. There's a whole bunch of features on there that you'll go over that they probably forgot to mention to you as they're walking through. But then if you sit down and fill it out with them, you're going to learn a lot more about the property because then they're going to, oh, actually, no, that's a gas hot water heater. Well, let me tell you about what happened with this. You're just going to gain a lot more information that way, I think is really helpful.
Right. So even though we have it on DocuSign, you can still print it off of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would too. I'll do this oftentimes with buyers too, especially first time buyers. If I can sit down with them and go through the contract line by line, that's the first time buyer that's not going to call me and bug me on a Friday night because they're freaked out because they didn't understand something or their friend at work told them something and now they're just, oh no, this is happening to me
If
too.
they're reading DocuSign and they don't like something
Yeah,
in it or they read it wrong or whatever. And so, yeah, that was my feeling about it, was that you sit down with all the paperwork and do it in person because it's a more personal level.
100%. Yeah. Yep. That's how I feel.
Stephanie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Um, I've only done one listing thing, but there's a lot of paperwork that goes with this.
Yeah.
Would you ever be opposed, like if I was in Eugene area, like if I just kind of looked how you organized it and how you put it together? If I was in Eugene and made an appointment with you, would you be opposed to me looking and seeing how you do it?
No, I'd be happy to show you.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
Because by the way, your paperwork is beautiful. When I saw the one on the condo, it was like, wow, this is professional. This is
Oh, thank you.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Well, yeah, and I guess I will say too, I mean, I think the DocuSign is handy, but I kind of think there's especially in the world that's heading so much more towards AI, I think people actually appreciate it when you take the time to sit down and
So do you ever do like have them, you go through it line by line, but then you have them sign in person in DocuSign?
I like sometimes I'll just print it out and then I just have them sign actually like
Okay,
yeah,
paper.
wet sign. Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. Ahas to achievement. So, thoughts on what we've covered? Any feeling differently? Anything new you'll take away with you today?
Yes, a thank you card right after you talk to them. I like that.
Daily success system. Okay, so I like this is probably more on Mara's end of stuff here, but I guess I will just say again, when I took this class, mind you, it was 20 years ago, but we had like the 5, 10, 15, 5. So it was like similar situation of what you're told to do. And I will just say like my one success I will give you from that. Well, I got many successes from it, but we were supposed to, I think I mentioned, tour like 10 houses a week or something. And so, and then one of the assignments that we had, you'll probably have something similar, was calling for sale by owners. And it was like posing as though I'm just trying to stay up on inventory. I saw you're trying to sell your house. Can I come through? I might have a buyer for it. Well, it was brand new. I didn't have any buyers. And so that was a complete lie. But I, used the script and called the for sale by owner and said, hey, I'd like to stay up on it for my buyer. So I walked through the house. Now, this was like an expensive house. I never thought I'd have any buyer that would ever be able to afford this house. Who do I ever know that would be doing this? I don't know. Well, next thing I know, I got a referral from our office, and it was from an agent out of California that had a buyer that was relocating from California. And initially, they said they wanted to buy 10 acres in Roseburg. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll help them out. So, and we did not have a Roseburg office at that time. And so I went down and I showed her a bunch of houses, and then she's like, well, this sucks. There's no Trader Joe's down here. And I was like, yeah, what? So anyway, she's like, I want to live 10 minutes from Trader Joe's. So then we go back to Eugene. Well, lo and behold, I showed her a bunch of things on the market. Nothing was meeting her needs. And then I thought, you know what? That for sale by owner that I toured with my silly homework that I had to do with my Camp 443, I'll call that guy up. Well, it was still available and she bought that house. So, like, had I not known about that house ahead of time, like, I wouldn't have probably gotten this sale. So, anyway, I just say, like, that was a success story. And all the things that you're doing that seem, so silly and tedious and nominal, and like, why are you even doing this? What is this getting me? Like, gosh, this is so hard. It's going to pay off. I promise you it will. And it'll be when you least expect it, with a crazy lady that wants to buy a house in Roseburg and then wants to be by Trader Joe's. So keep up the good work. You've got this, and it's all going to turn out. Real estate is hard. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. So keep up the good work. Questions?
Yes, we have an extravaganza for open houses coming up. Are you going to have any opens that
Heck
you've
yeah.
done?
Heck yeah, I will. Yeah. Let me look at that. I actually have a whole bunch of new listings coming up. So yes.
Sweet, because
Yep.
put me on that list.
You were successful last year. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great, great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes. Okay. If you guys need
Bye.
anything from me, I'm here. Bye.
Bye.